What we haven't talked about is the NFLPA releasing a statement stating that 25% of its grievances from players in the last couple of years have been filed against the Jacksonville Jaguars. First of all, the NFLPA coming out and stating in the statement, they actually said, would like players to take this into account when deciding where they want to go. The NFLPA openly recruiting against the Jacksonville Jaguars is a hilarious thought. Just like, hey, this is what you're getting into if you go down there. They had a picture of Tom Coughlin, who's an old school guy. They had a picture of what was going on down there. Dante Fowler came out and said, these folks hated me. They literally took $700,000 away from him in fines for making something mandatory that legally, due to the CBA, they couldn't make mandatory. Now, this is a very interesting thing. This is the thought, though. Can old school people make it in the modern world that we're in the NFL? Tom Coughlin probably told Dante Fowler, hey, if you're hurt, like I want you in the training room, which is, by the way, since the beginning of football, a standard thing. If you're hurt, get in the training room because you're much better on the field than without it. And Dante Fowler said, no, I'll go use my own trainers. I'll go use my own physical therapist. I'll get healthy and I'll come back. And Tom Coughlin said, well, we're going to fine you every single time you miss it. And 25 times they fined him to the sum of $700,000. Turns out, new CBA that was negotiated about 10 years ago, that can't happen. You just can't fine him. And Tom Coughlin did not give a single damn. So if you're the Khan family, and now you got the NFLPA openly recruiting against you. You got Tom Coughlin, old school guy, running the show. Not to success, by the way. A couple years ago, they were close and ultimately didn't make it because they kneeled out before half against the Patriots. Blake Bortles was their guy. Now they're back into the crapper, back into the can. They had Nick Foles. They paid him. Gardner Minshew, turns out he's the guy. But that team is just an absolute it show down there. Mm-hmm. If you're the Khan family, is it a time for a complete rehaul? Get Tom Coughlin out of there, bring somebody else that can bring it in and adapt to the modern world? Because it's not good when the NFLPA is telling people, like, hey, this is what's happening if you're going there. Because the NFLPA, although I think they are a sham of an operation, I don't think they're as good as they make out to be. I think they're good for some things. I think they do protect players in a lot of cases, but I think they stick their hands in a lot of things that they shouldn't be sticking their hands in. Them telling agents and players like, hey, this is what you should think about before you go into the Jaguars is not a good look for the Jaguars and could be very costly trying to get them, free agents or somebody that can make their team better.
I thought Doug Marrone was probably most likely gone. I mean, they got blown out by the Chargers at home. It looked like they didn't even try. And then it looked like they weren't trying when they were down 16-3 against the Raiders, and then they came back to spoil the last game in the black hole.
Gardner Minshew mania is a real thing, though.
But Jalen Ramsey wanted out.
Dante Fowler wanted out.
Those are first-round picks in the last 3 or 4 years that they've had.
25%. By the way, I don't even know what grievance means. Like, can I just be like, hey, this GM is an ass? Can I just file that as a grievance?
That is a grievance.
Yeah. Filed. Complaint.
Airing of the grievance season is upon us.
I didn't even know people did that. See, that's... So when the Colts suspended me and fined me to the tune of $40,000 after I got arrested or whatever. Well, hello there. Utilize the promo code PAYTHEBILLS and get $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. Now, back to the magic. For public intoxication, which was an alleged event, obviously, but I was definitely drunk. I mean, there's no allegedly to me being intoxicated. But to the swimming, that's all alleged. I was told, you can fight this and get your money back because they suspended me, which was a game check, and then they fined me another $15,000 on top of that. So altogether, it was $40,000 I lost. And by the way, when you lose $40,000 as a young person that doesn't come from money, and then you have a little bit of money, and then $40,000 is just plucked out of your life, that's when you stop caring about money. I just want to let you know that was for me the turning point when I was like, well, I mean, $40,000 just got taken away. Who gives a damn about any of this? This is all monopoly money anyways, and I just went on a run.
So when they find you, so they took your game check, so you obviously don't get the game check. But when they find you the $15,000, do you have to write them a check for $15,000, or what does it come?
Everything just gets pulled out. Everything just gets pulled out. So you're looking at your check, and it's like, dun, dun, dun. Okay, here's federal taxes, 50%. Here's county taxes, another 7%. Here's this, here's your this, here's this. And you just, that's when you learn about life, by the way. Whenever you see a check that is worth more than you could have ever imagined in your life, you're like, oh my God, all that money's mine. And then you look directly to the right and it's like, oh, no. Uncle Sam gets some, the city gets some, the county gets some. Oh, and here's another fine that's getting some. And then you got $7.50 this week. It's
enjoy
like,
groceries.
Damn. Yeah, damn. Good thing I'm living in a hellhole apartment with my brother right now. I mean, this is a good time. But I think that was when I probably could have filed a grievance, I guess. And I put in like, hey, can I get some of this money back? And it was held against me later in negotiation that I filed against the fine. Like, not held against me, but it was mentioned like, well, remember when he got fined, he wanted to get his money back and filed a grievance with the NFLPA. I was like, I didn't even know I filed a grievance. I just wanted my money back. So I stayed away from it completely. I think that whole world is a very interesting one. And I think I come from an old school mindset, right? Where something happens, it's like, okay, remember this. But I guess there's a lot of people that do it the smart way where they file grievances and do things properly in channels and stuff like that. But that all ends up happening is just a bunch of BS in my eyes.
What a crazy idea that when a guy gets what he thinks is unjustly fined, he would want that money back.
Yeah, crazy.
Insane, you know?
$40,000. I got fined $150 from the city of Indianapolis. And I had to do, I forget how many hours of community service. So I got fined $40,153 for that alleged swim, mostly from Goodell.
Not to mention what you spent that night, too.
Had a good night.
Imagine being fined $700,000.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. And he can't do it. They couldn't. It turns out they weren't allowed to do it. It's like, at what point, though, as a Jaguars organization, do you just say, yeah, we're going to keep fining them. We don't give a single damn. And that's kind of the issue I would assume a lot of people go is they don't care what the rules are. They're going to fine him. And I think that was probably to make a statement. Let's assume that they knew that money probably wasn't going to be able to remain as a fine. They were probably just making that as a statement to everybody else. Like, we want you with our people. Now, you got to remember, I'm not 100% against that because I think your training. Now, I was very lucky to be with the Colts training staff, and they get a bad rap every once in a while whenever like the Andrew Luck thing happens. But I think there was a lot of miscommunication on both sides in that whole thing. But the Colts training staff took care of me very well. I mean, they rehabbed me after 3 knee injuries. I mean, they did a lot for me. Peyton, Freeney, Vinatieri, the name goes on and on, the people that they've rehabbed. And I've heard horror stories about other medical staffs, how they're 100% working for the club, not for the players. So I know how there could be some fear. But you can see how the team would want you in-house so they can get a direct update immediately on how your recovery's coming, how you're performing, and everything like that. But for a player, it's in the CBA. I'm allowed to go train with my own people if I want. I'm allowed to get rehab in the offseason from somebody else if I want. I don't have to attend any of this except for the mandatory 3 days or whatever. So you can see how the rules could be a problem between an old school mindset and a new school mindset. And it's not good for the Jaguars.
It'd be funny if, because all this money, the fine money goes to charity, if like when they win a case like this, like Dante did, they take the money back from the charity. Just a bunch of hungry kids like, I thought Dante Fowler was Wong.
They never tell us where the money goes, by the way.
I bet not.
You never know where the money goes to charities or whatever. You never know. I wish they would take the money and give it to like old players.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Like retired players.
At least to their benefit fund or
That's
something.
what I'm saying. Get them insurance or something.
So
like
many
that.
vets are gonna be like, "Oh, I can't wait for someone to be cheating again."
Oh yeah. So how do we get these guys back in the league? Ex players are like on hard times. Is there any way we can get Gordon back in there? That's then you never know where. Like I have no idea where my $40,000 went. I have no clue where it went. But they say it went to a charity. I'm like, oh, so I helped the world.
Good for you, man.
Hey,
Look
Good on you.
hey. You don't get to write that off though. The NFL does.
Come on.